So what food prices and products are you expecting to rise the most?
Look, I think the ones that we have seen the greatest cost of production increases in, particularly vegetables, things that have high fertiliser input, high diesel input due to anything that requires diesel for harvesting, for sowing, for spraying, and those that have long distances to the supermarket distribution centres. But really, the cost of production is increasing across the board. It's not just the diesel cost, but of course, all the things that oil is a component of. There, we're seeing price increases across them, and fertiliser. So I think it will be pretty much across the board, although the quantum of price increases may change from one product to another.
So, Jolyon, I mean, there also seems to be, from what I'm reading, a real dilemma for dairy. We've heard from Norco this morning announcing an increase of 5 cents a litre. Why is this war in the Middle East seemingly hitting dairy so hard?
Well, dairy is very much like, and I can't speak for dairy farmers, but is very much like fresh produce. It is a highly perishable product. In dairy, you have a couple of days to get it from the farm gate onto the supermarket shelves. For a lot of fresh produce, very similar sort of turnaround times. So that means you can't wait till your diesel tank is topped up, or until the price in your local area goes down. It means you can't hold it back on farm, and so you have to get it out there. You have to harvest. You have to transport it to the distribution costs. So these price increases are immediate and they're unavoidable.
I know that the NFF's Horticultural Council, which you're from, penned an open letter to the supermarket chains urging them to take up price increases. What sort of response have you had?
None. So they haven't come back to us, but they certainly have commented in the media. And I suppose what it has done for us is to just confirm our concern and to perhaps raise our level of anxiety, because all we've heard from them are these sorts of weasel words around working with their suppliers to navigate the best path forward. No mention of taking a fair and reasonable approach to growers' requests for unavoidable price increases. And I think the reason for our concern, Catherine, is that the ACCC's recent report on competition in supermarkets made it very clear that during COVID, the supermarkets not only maintained their margins, but in many cases increased them. So, it's that old never let a good crisis go to waste. The supermarkets are very adept at putting the pressure back on growers, but using consumer understanding of a crisis to raise prices and thus increase their margins.
So if the big supermarkets put prices up, are you concerned that that won't filter back through to the farmers?
Absolutely, and that's the point I've just been trying to make with the ACCC report. When there have been price increases in the past for things like COVID and other disruptions beyond the supermarket's control, but they've been very good at protecting their margins and making sure it's their suppliers, particularly fresh produce suppliers, who carry the total burden of those price increases.
And if I can just ask you, Jolyon, about regional areas perhaps being disproportionately impacted by this war and the prices, is that something that you think is going to be a problem or not?
Very much so. So while we have seen some modest improvement in the availability of diesel and the price, it has to be said, it is still far worse in regional areas than it is in the urban and peri-urban areas. So not only do regional areas usually have higher prices for their fuel and for their fertiliser, because they have to be transported out to those regional areas, but they also face higher costs in terms of transporting their produce back to the distribution centres of the supermarket. So it is very much a problem that is exacerbated in regional areas.
Jolyon Burnett, National Farmers Federation, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for taking an interest.